It's time to figure out who makes the best adventure sandal, because we've got two of the top brands that you guys chose and we chose from the Rose Anvil 2 showdown. We looked at like 5 or 6 of these different brands. We chose these two, and a newcomer on the scene with Lems, dropping a very similar sandal in the same kind of category with a few distinct features. So we're gonna cut all of them in half, run through all of our tests, and compare every single aspect of these very similar sandals so you guys can figure out which is the most durable, which is the most comfortable, which is the most outdoor ready, which is easiest to use, best value, all those things that you need to know to make a smart decision in buying a pair of adventure sandals. So what are the contenders? Well, let's start with Lems. The brand is Lems. The style is a switchback sandal. They weigh 8.5 ounces. They retail for $120. They're made in China. And the way they position this product is, after over 4 years of development, the switchback sandal is the result of a simple yet revolutionary concept: create a durable, adjustable sandal made from a single piece of webbing with just one buckle. Through dozens of prototypes and testing, we've crafted a sandal that combines minimalism, comfort, and versatility, ready for any adventure, whether it's hiking, bike packing, or world travel. The key innovation behind this design is the switchback slider, a custom designed webbing guide that allows the strap to slide and adjust the tightness in the heel and instep for a custom fit that moves with your foot. This dynamic slip-free design ensures a secure yet flexible fit, eliminating the need for multiple straps while maximizing comfort. The contoured barefoot footbed is crafted from a texture that mimics the natural shape of the foot. The anatomical contour is wrapped around the bottom of your foot, eliminating the need for multiple straps while maximizing comfort. The next contender is the brand is Luna Sandals. The style is the Outsole Winged Edition. They weigh 9.5 ounces. They're a little bit more expensive at $125. They're made in Vietnam. And the way they position this product is the Outsole equals the Bear, our most rugged and built outdoor adventure platform to allow for the gnarliest trails on the most epic adventures. If you're looking for something that will handle the harshest terrain and will keep your feet safe from the dangers below, the Outsole is for you. And finally, the last contender, the brand is Bedrock Sandals. The style is the Cairn Evo 3D Pro sandal. They weigh 9.9 ounces. They're the most expensive at $140. And part of that cost is that they are USA assembled from foreign parts. And the way they position this product is our highest performer and best seller, the Cairn Evo 3D Pro, is the ultimate adventure sandal. Extra sticky Vibra Mega Grip rubber paired with our patented adjustment system locks feet in from heel to toe for a fit that won't fail in the frothiest rapids or the thickest silt. So a lot of similar claims, to be honest, like single webbing, locking your heel to toe, made for every adventure you could ever want. And that's why it's important to go detail by detail with these to really figure out what the differences are, because they look almost identical, similar positions. So let's start with the upper, or like the webbing essentially of these, because that's where you see some of the differences in how they're adjusted, how they work, and the materials they use. So starting with the Lems, they use a nylon webbing and a microfiber and leather looking material, at least here at the toe. And like they said, it's a single piece of webbing. You can see this toe piece is obviously a different piece, but that starts here, loops through this switchback slider, back through here, another switchback slider, and then into the slide buckle. And the microfiber is right here on the sides of your ankle to give you a little bit of cushioning and a little bit softer area for that high wear area over your ankles. And so really there's 4 different materials, because you've got the nylon webbing, you've got this softer material on the sides here, you've got that microfiber over top of your foot. From the cross section, it for sure is leather. We burned it just to double check, but you can see it has the grain in there. It's a pretty good piece of leather. It's a chrome tan leather, and the problem with chrome tan leather, especially when it's exposed to bare skin, is it can cause a chemical reaction because of the chromium salts. Some people are allergic to it, and so that's why your foot isn't touching bare leather on the sides here and this little microfiber underneath. But more importantly, we ran all of our tests on them, and we did the toe strap test where we just tried to figure out how many pounds it takes to pull through the toe strap. The Lems took 258 pounds. We did the heel strap to see how many pounds it takes to pull that out. It took 316 pounds to puncture through. So pretty impressive results from the pull test, and honestly, I do like the setup of this. A single strap, multiple materials that have distinct purposes, the durability of true leather that has the grain. So looking pretty good for the Lems. How's that compared to the Lunas though? Well, the Lunas, similar concept, a single strap. They don't say exactly what the strap is, but it seems like nylon. The Lunas are also a little bit thicker strap. It comes in at 2 millimeters, where the Lems come in at 1.2, and the Bedrocks come in at 1 as well. So it has the thickest straps, and you can tell they're thicker, a little bit hardier. So they're probably gonna be the most durable straps of the bunch. And this is a little bit closer to a single piece running through the entire shoe, because you can see this thinner nylon strap to go between your toes. You don't want this big strap. Then it transitions to this thicker strap that goes up through a little of the slide buckle here that's plastic, wraps underneath to go through this little, similar to that switchback transition, then it goes to a heel pad, back to another little transition, then to that buckle again. And so it is truly one strap that is adjustable all the way through, similar to the Lems, just a little less complicated. And and they use plastic buckles, and it seems like rubber on the side here for these slides. And we did the same pull test on the Lunas. The toe strap pulled through at 137 pounds. The heel strap pulled through at 117 pounds. So not quite as strong as the Lems, but still for like, you know, it's 100 plus pounds of just straight pulling force. I still think it's a good enough test result. Like if it was below 100, I'd maybe have some concerns, but I don't think anyone's pulling through these anytime soon, even at 130 pounds. And then to the Bedrock. This is less of a single strap going all the way through because you can see a little thinner toe strap. Instead of the thin nylon like the Lems and the Luna, this has a cord going between your toes. So it's the thinnest of the bunch. It also might create some bulk and some pressure points, but that is something to consider with all three of these. With the Lems, you have a double layer of a nylon strap. With the Lunas, you have a single strap, and with the Bedrocks, you have this cord running through. And to me, the cord was the most comfortable, but I also haven't worn these extensively, and that's something you want to keep in mind when choosing these. And the adjustments on the Bedrocks are also different. So instead of a single slide buckle, you have a junction right here, where on one side you've got these little speed hooks, like a little daisy chain, which I really, really like about these because there's pros and cons, right? Like this is going to adjust and slide with you, and you can adjust it, and it might form to your feet over time, but it also has the potential of over tightening and kind of sliding around too much. This, you're not going to have that slow adjustment that's going to slowly shape and adjust your foot, but you have a lot more secure fastening of where exactly you want pressure, exactly where you want tension, because this little daisy chain part sews into these little sidewalls that I really like with these because they're rubber that's integrated into the outsole that wraps up and then it's sewn, but you do have a little bit thicker, harder, and more abrading material in this thicker strap rather than this really soft fabric and just the slide buckle and like the material through the Lunas. And then the heel strap, similar, you got a little daisy chain to make that adjustment, and then another transition, and then you get to the nylon strap that goes to a plastic slide buckle. So the way you do this one is instead of adjusting all these at the same time, you adjust your daisy chain straps here, and you use this little slide buckle to put on and take off the sandals. So even though they're almost identical in how they look, they are slightly different on how they're adjusted and how they're going to feel on foot. And you especially want to take into consideration these transition points and where you might be feeling some pressure points, where some are going to take a little more break in. But for the most part, all three of these are super adjustable and easy to adjust. It's just a matter of how minimal do you want to go, how much adjustment do you want to have on the fly, and how secure do you want to have your adjustment permanently in place. And for the pull test results, this one is off the charts. The toe strap took 461 pounds to pull through, and the heel strap took 383 pounds to pull through. But maybe the second most important thing about this kind of sandal is what you're actually standing on, because these footbeds vary quite a bit in how hard and how soft they are, because your Lems, you have a really soft 55 Shore A EVA footbed. And you can see how soft it is. You can feel it's a very soft footbed. Compare that to the Lunas, they call it a monkey grip technology footbed, and it looks like there's a thin piece of rubber on top of the foam midsole, and it's a lot harder too. So at 70 Shore A, it's gonna be firmer underfoot, it's gonna give you a more stable platform, but it might not be quite as squishy and comfortable as the softer Lems. You compare that to the Bedrocks. The Bedrocks are somewhere in between. They're 65 Shore A, so not quite as soft as the Lems, not quite as hard as the Lunas, and they're structured more like the Lems, where it's that EVA foam, where you're actually standing on the midsole, but it has a texture to it, and it's a little bit firmer than the Lems. And softness doesn't always mean comfort. Some people want a really firm foundation, a really flat foundation. Some people want a really soft foundation that has a lot more contouring, because the Luna is completely flat, whereas the Lems is contoured and it looks like it has a little more heel to toe drop, and we'll see for sure when we get them cut in half. But keep in mind, just because it's softer doesn't mean it's gonna be more comfortable. It kind of depends on what you're looking for and what your feet need. And to add some data to that, we did the ball drop test, and the Lems bounced up 19.25 inches, the Lunas did 13.25, and the Bedrocks 12.5 inches. So Lems seem to be the most responsive, the most squishy, the softest of the bunch, and that's somewhat reflected even in the outsoles, because if we look at the outsoles of these shoes, they're all rubber outsoles, but the Lems is fairly soft at a 50 to 55 Shore A. It looks like it's about 4.5 to 5 millimeters thick, and it's a Lems branded and Lems made outsole. Compare that to the Lunas. This is a Vibram outsole, and it's a lot harder. This is the Vibram Mega Grip that comes in about 65 Shore A, and it's a little bit thicker at 6.5 millimeters. So it's going to be more abrasion resistant. It's not going to wear down as fast. You have more material to wear through, but it is a little bit more rigid. It's a little more firm, and it's not going to be quite as squishy underneath your feet. And then once again, the Bedrock's kind of right in between. It's another Vibram Mega Grip outsole. This one has the integrated sidewalls that I really like. And this one's also 6.5 millimeters thick and around 60 Shore A. And it's about the same amount of grippiness and lug depth and everything to the Lunas, where the Lems have a little bit less slugginess, a little softer rubber, more coverage because of that. And so out of the three of them, which is maybe gonna be the most comfortable squishy outsole? The Lems. Which is gonna give you the most grip? Probably these two. And in terms of durability of outsoles, these two are probably gonna be more durable than the Lems, but not by a long shot. You're probably gonna see an equivalent difference in comfort between these two and durability between the two. You know, I think you're just trading off an equal amount of durability for comfort or squish. And to test the entire responsiveness of these sandals, we did the bar drop test, which is a lot heavier than just that little steel ball. The Lems bounced up 5 inches, the Lunas did 4 inches, and the Bedrock's 3.5 inches. So it seems like very common across the board, more responsive, more squish, potentially more comfort, but more firm, less responsive, and more stable underneath the foot based off the results and the densities and the durometers that we've looked at. And really the last test I wanted to run on these before we cut them in half and really see what's on the inside, how they're structured, the thicknesses on the inside, I wanted to run the puncture test because they're adventure sandals and they're made to be used out in the wild, hiking around in rugged terrain. You know, that's like a lot of the branding of these. And so the puncture test was important to me. So the Lems punctured through at 61 pounds, the Lunas punctured through at 135 pounds, and the Bedrocks at 257 pounds. So it seems like there's a pretty clear trend happening here. So let's cut them in half, look at all the inside, see what's on the inside, and finally decide which is the best, which is the most durable, which is the most comfortable, all those things you need to know to actually make a decision on these sandals. Okay, we got all three cut in half. One of the easier, but I had a feeling that people were gonna be like, oh, he's gonna cut right through his hand. Because it looks sketchier than what it was, but it feels really cool cutting them that way, just getting them to kind of like splay open. So if you're not subscribed, consider pushing that little subscribe button because that's how we can afford to do this kind of thing and show you multiple shoes cut in half to just give you every bit of information you need to make a smart buying decision as a consumer. So now, let's see what's inside. So what's on the inside of these? Well, you can see there's a lot of squish in these Lems, and that rubber, or that foam on the inside is really soft, because on the inside, the measurement's around 40 Shore A. You compare that to the insides of these other shoes, or these other sandals, 50 Shore A, and the Bedrocks, about 60 Shore A, so wow, okay. So the midsole of the Lunas is softer, but the actual softness or durometer from the footbed, because it has that extra layer, is quite a bit harder. So that makes a lot of sense why the Bedrocks, even though it had a little bit softer footbed, perform better in some of the puncture tests, the pull tests, because it is a harder foam through and through, even compared to the Lunas. The thicknesses that we're dealing with in the heel of the Lems, just the foam alone is around 14 millimeters. The toe is closer to 10 or 11 millimeters. Compare that to the Lunas, the midsole alone, straight through is about 8 millimeters, and the midsole, and it's basically the footbed of the Bedrocks, is also around 8 millimeters. So you're gonna get more comfort and more contouring, because you can see this isn't a true zero drop. It's within a couple millimeters, and after some wear, this heel foam's gonna compress where it basically zero drop, because it's only a matter of a few millimeters. But it is still something to consider, especially with the amount of squish and the amount of foam, because like I mentioned, not everyone wants the contoured footbed. Not everyone wants all the squish. Some people are gonna want this plank flat midsole that has this extra layer that's gonna compress more equally, and then the Bedrocks are somewhere in between. So that's basically every aspect and measurement of every single material in these shoes. So now, which do I think is gonna be the most durable? I think the Bedrock pretty easily seals the deal on that. The best puncture resistance, pull tests, all the important like durability tests and like measurements across the board, the Bedrock seem to be the most durable. What about most comfortable? Pretty easy, the Lems. I think for most people that like squish, that like the contouring, that need that for comfort, they're gonna like the Lems a lot. If you like more of the firm, flat kind of foundation, you might think the Lunas are more comfortable. And then the Bedrocks kind of ride between the two. Most outdoor ready, you know, if you're talking about really beating these up and you're up in the shale rock and the shale slides and it's really gnarly and a really abrasion that really wear out your shoes and sandals especially really quick, I would probably say, once again, the Bedrocks are probably gonna be the most durable. You know, They do have a couple more seams and stuff that might cause some potential fail points, but I don't think it's enough to say it's not more durable. Especially if you look at these little like daisy chain adjustments that are not gonna slip and slide, it's gonna be exactly how you want it. Where these is, you know, my concern would be if you're really up in the side hilling and you're really in some extreme stuff, the fact that it is a single strap might lead to some loosening here and there. But I haven't tested these extensively, and so take it with a grain of salt is what I'm saying. But I think across the board, the Bedrocks are probably gonna be the most heavy outdoor ready. So comfort, natural, anatomical, and most adventure ready. So that's it. So let me know what you guys think, and because you guys might have some experience in each of these, it will really round out this information because I didn't test these extensively, and so your guys' information input on your experience in these is really valuable in the comment section. So let me know what you guys think. How would you rank them? What do you think is best? What do you think is most comfortable? Give me your opinion, and thank you guys for watching this. If you want any of these, check them out below because they're all three really, really good brands that I like working with, that have good products across the board, and all three of these are winners in my opinion, because this is the top three based off all the other ones that we reviewed in the other videos and all the other barefoot sandals we reviewed. These are the top three anyway, and I think you'd be happy with any three of these based off the information that we provided. So thank you guys. See ya.